Hello everyone and welcome to Luminar Coffee Break. I'm Angela Andrieux and today is all about Luminar AI's Update 2. I'm here to answer your questions that you may have. Put them in the chat. I'll do my best to clarify anything you've come up across that you're having questions about. And I'm also going to show you a couple of my favorite new features. There's a lot of cool new stuff in Update 2, but the two things I want to show you today are new camera support and the PNG overlays. Those are two of my favorite new features because I shoot with the Canon EOS R6, which is a newer camera, and that support was recently added to this update along with a host of other cameras. So that was really exciting. And the PNG overlay support is a great new feature in case you want to add a watermark or signature to your image. Makes it super simple. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. There we go. You guys should be seeing Luminar AI up on my screen. And I want to take a moment to say hello, Robert, JGmail28, Jerry, Russell, Jose. So glad to see each and every one of you here today. So I've got up on the screen a picture that I took a few weeks ago of a sculpture from an artist that's here in San Diego and Riverside County. Really talented metal worker. He does these amazing art installations out in the desert, and they're massive. But this is one that's at his smaller gallery up near Temecula, and I just love how it was framed with the sky, this really cool dragon. Well, let me show you the before and you'll see where I started. It was a backlit photo, and I did originally bracket these, but I liked what I came up with just a single exposure best. So this was what I ended up with. Hello, Julie, Robert. So glad to see you guys. All right, so Robert says, is the Sony A6000 supported? You know, let's take a look. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the help menu in the user guide, and let's go ahead and take a look. When you go to the user guide, we have, let's see here, where is it? Supported file types. Let's go ahead and click in there, and let's take a look. Here's our list of supported cameras, and I believe this has been updated, so we can go ahead and just do a quick find. I'm gonna type in Sony, and we're looking for the A6000. There it is. The Sony A6000 is supported. So if you're ever wondering what file types are supported, go to the user guide, click on this list, and take a look and see if your individual camera is supported. Just because the file type that your camera creates is supported, for instance, a CR3, it doesn't mean that the newer cameras are going to be supported, because even though it has the same extension, it doesn't mean that the file type is going to be the same. So the next Canon camera that comes out that shoots CR3 isn't going to be the same kind of file that my R6 produces. Therefore, it might not be supported yet. We do our best to get those new camera support in as quickly as possible, but it does take some time to get those libraries updated. Pat says, I'm having trouble using one of my own skies without it being added into Luminar. I used to be able to pick a sky out of my own sky folder and use it without having to add it. You should still be able to do that. Let's go ahead and take a quick look here. I'll just pop over to the Edit tab here and into Tools. And some of the options did change around a little bit with Update 2. You'll notice we have this visual Sky Selector, which is really great. Instead of having to click on a name and see what it does, we get a quick little visual representation of what that sky looks like. To add a single sky for a one-time use, just scroll down to the bottom of this list, and you can see I've got quite a few skies installed here. Scroll. This plus button right here at the bottom should allow you to add a single sky for a one-time use. Now, if you want to install skies in here, like I already have a whole bunch in here, in addition to the ones that are built in, click on this All Skies dropdown, go down to the Show Custom Skies folder, and that's going to open up a folder either in Finder or Explorer, depending on whether you're Mac or Windows. And here's our skies, custom, and each one of these folders has skies that I've gotten from different areas. So these ones that are LX, these are from Luminar X, and all of my different skies are listed in these folders and are now available in this visual representation in this drop-down menu. And you can also sort between the ones that are built in this way as well. So hopefully that helps you, Pat. If that doesn't fix your problem, make sure you reach out to support@skylum.com so our techs can take a look at it. All right, let's see here, make sure I'm not missing any other questions as we go along. All right, wonderful. So let's go ahead and have some fun with this dragon photo. I'm gonna right click on my photo, go to adjustments, and revert to original and walk you through what I did. Now, like I said, one of the coolest things for me is that my camera, my raw files are now supported. So I can go up here into the light tool. I have the white balance presets are all here. I have access to profiles. I don't have any others installed right now. I think I probably need to update my Adobe PNG converter. So if you have a camera that's supported but you're not seeing extra profiles here, make sure you go to the Adobe website, download the free Adobe DNG converter. That will automatically install your camera's profiles on your computer. You don't have to use it. You don't have to convert any of your raw files to DNG, but it will load up these external profiles. I haven't done that and updated my libraries yet, so the only one I have here is Adobe Standard or my Luminar default. But if you're working on a JPEG or a TIFF, you don't have access to this profiles menu. So that's something worth noting if you get to use your raw file. Sounds like we've had some other comments going on over here. Let's take a look. All right. Jose is saying absolutely loves the PNG feature and the thumbnails of the clouds. Yes, great, great options. Robert says, since we're talking about skies, the image have to be raw to add a sky in. No, you can do that on a JPEG, on a TIFF, on a PSD. You can use any type of file as your base and then load in one of those skies. Now, to use a sky as a replacement, I believe it has to be either a JPEG or a TIFF, and that's your sky image. So if you go out and take a photograph of the sky, you can't pop a raw sky image in there. It has to be processed first. So open up that raw file of your sky in Luminar AI, make sure the contrast looks good, make sure you clear out any dust spots or any distractions, export that as a JPEG or a TIFF, and then you can load that as your sky. All right, so let's go ahead and have some fun with this photo. I'm actually going to start with Enhance AI, and we're just going to pull up that Accent AI, and we'll see that just that one slider opens up a lot of those shadows and makes this image look so much better. We'll also use some Sky Enhancer because I want to bring out all the gorgeous detail that's happening there in the background. So just that right there, 2 sliders, makes a huge difference. Let's see the before and the after. Now I'm going to go ahead and scoot down to Composition AI. I feel like the crop could use a little bit of love here. I'm going to keep my original ratio. I'm going to drag this in here from the bottom, and I think right about there, and maybe move them up a little bit. And I like that composition there, so I'll hit return on my keyboard to commit that crop. Now we can go into our light tool and see if we need to adjust the white balance at all. We could choose daylight, and you see that changes the tone of the sky a little bit there. There's also some clouds, so there's a case to be made for using cloudy as well. I feel like that makes it a little bit too yellow, so I'm going to switch back to daylight and run with that. Now let's go ahead and scroll down. The next tool that I want to use on this, because it's a metal sculpture, because there's so much cool texture, structure is the greatest tool. So we're going to use that. We're going to bring it up quite a bit. Not only is that going to add a lot of detail to the dragon, it's going to add a lot of detail to the sky. So right about there looks very, very cool. Now I feel like some of the colors here in the dragon, the rust is getting a little bit too pronounced. So I'm going to back off the color a little bit with the dramatic tool. So dramatic has a way of adding contrast, and it also desaturates a little bit. So let's go ahead and pull that up. And you'll see that that's bringing out some of that texture. Desaturated a little bit, looks really, really great. Let's see here. Excuse me. Let's see at the comments. All right, looks like we're good over there. All right, so the next step I want to take with this image is add a little bit of mystical. Now I love the ambiance that mystical gives, but it does have a tendency to pull back on the detail. So the way to get around that, let's go ahead and pull that amount up. You'll see we're losing some of that fine detail. Go to the smoothness slider and make sure you pull that back, and that'll restore most of that detail. You still get some of that dreaminess, you especially see it up in the clouds, but it brings back that fine detail. So there's the before and the after. I might pull back on the amount about that a little bit there. I think that was a little too much. All right, that's looking really good. Now the final thing here I want to do as far as edits is go to my vignette, and let's go ahead and add a subtle vignette just to draw the eye into our dragon. I'm going to pull the amount slider all the way down to -100. Go into my advanced settings, we'll bring that feather up quite a bit for a nice smooth transition. Definitely add some inner light because we're working with a backlit subject, so I want to make sure the light is hitting the dragon, so that helps a bit. We'll click on Choose Subject, place our vignette right about there, and I think I might actually make that size a bit bigger in this instance, just to make sure his entire face isn't getting obstructed by that vignette. And then we'll grab the amount slider and we'll adjust those edges and make that blend a little bit more seamlessly, because 100 is way too strong, but having it at 100 to start with allows us to place it much more precisely. So I think right about there looks good. I'll click off of choose subject. Now let's take a look at our before and our after. I've made some really great changes here. Julie says, if you only wanted the dragon detailed, would you paint a mask? Absolutely. Let's go ahead and do that. We can go into our details panel and we'll add a tiny bit of small details. I don't want to add too much because that starts to make it look kind of grainy, especially because I did pull at the shadows a lot. If we pull it up much further, we're going to start creating noise. And by pulling up the small details, that can make that noise even more pronounced. So I want to keep that relatively low. Pull up our medium details and then pull up our large details a bit. So let's take a look at that before and after. That's looking good. Maybe even add a little bit of sharpening. Now, when I look at this, I want those details and that sharpening to be on my dragon, not so much in the sky. So what I can do is go to my mask here on the tool, choose Paint Mask, make sure my brush is selected, and I'm going to use the bracket keys on my keyboard to make this a nice big soft brush. And then I can start painting in those extra details just over the dragon to bring out some of that extra punch just where I want it. So that's one way you can go about making really nice local adjustments. I'll go ahead and make that brush a little smaller. Come out here, get some of that horn. All right. And because we're using a soft edge brush, you don't have to be super precise on those edges because it naturally blends. So there we go, bring that out a little bit, come and get these edges a little bit better. All right, so now we've managed to add a lot of detail just to the dragon without affecting the sky. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close off that mask. And now the finishing touch, one of the coolest things in this new update is that PNG support. So I'm gonna go over to our local masking, add texture. This texture tool is so much more than just textures. I'm gonna go to load texture and I'm gonna grab a PNG watermark. And what's special about my PNG watermark is it has a transparent background. So I'm gonna go to pictures. I have all of my logos here in photo logo, and I'm gonna grab one of my initials ones. And so here's the high res. Let's see here, I think that's the black one. And there's the white one. Let's go with the white one. I think that'll look better with this image. Click open, and that's gonna place it right on top of my dragon. We'll just give that a moment to load up. And because it's the high resolution version, it's gonna take a moment. There we go. And you can see that it's super large and needs to be resized. To do that, I'm going to click on place texture, that's the one. And then to make it easier to grab those edges, I'm gonna make my image much, much smaller, and now I can see the bounding box of that texture. I'm gonna grab the edge and pull that in and make that nice and small, and then position that right where I want it. Right about there looks good. I'll hit return on my keyboard to go ahead and commit that. And now I'm gonna go back to fit to screen, and now we can see where my texture is placed. Now, there it goes. Now it's where I want it. Now it is looking really light. You can keep it at a lower opacity if you want, or you can grab that opacity of the texture and pull that all the way up to 100. You'll see that the definition of my watermark comes out more clearly, but everything in the background is still transparent, so there's no masking that you need to do. You don't need to go into advanced settings and work with those blend modes. Now, if your signature happens to be a JPEG file, you're still gonna have to make use of those blend modes, but if you have a PNG with a transparent background, you no longer have to mess with that unless you want to. So those are a couple of my favorite features, that and the new camera support. So cool, a lot of fun to work with. Not only is this tool here, the PNG support, is it for watermarks, although that's one use, you can use it for frames and all sorts of other creative effects, and we're gonna go into that more in depth next week, and I look forward to showing that to you because it's a lot of fun. Let me take a great look here at the comments, see if there's anything else. All right, if you guys have any other questions, make sure you pop those into the chat or into the comments below if you're watching the recording. I do go back and read those, and I do my best to make sure everything you have gets answered. If you want to reach out to me directly, if you have ideas for the show or questions that you need to have answered, you can always email me at angela@skylum.com. I love to hear from you. Make sure you hit thumbs up here on YouTube if you enjoyed the episode. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn you loose for the rest of the day. I hope you enjoy your afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And Vanelli and I will be back with you tomorrow for our weekly wrap-up. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.